So navigating the real estate market today, it just feels overwhelming, doesn't it? You've
Yeah.
got endless online listings, advice coming from everywhere, agents all saying they're the best. How do you, as a client, find someone who actually brings clarity?
Yeah, or if you're an agent, how do you even stand out? It feels like everyone's just shouting about being available.
Exactly. It's a real maze. And that's why today we're doing a deep dive into something called the Challenger Sale Framework.
Yeah.
We want to see how it applies specifically to the world of real estate.
Right. The mission here really is to unpack this proven approach that helps real estate pros become more than just agents, become sort of indispensable guides.
Guides who can actually change how clients see their own choices and hopefully lead to, much better results.
Definitely. And by the end of this deep dive, you should have a really clear picture of how the top agents are winning loyalty, closing deals faster. It's not just about showing homes anymore.
No, it sounds like it's about offering real insights, confident leadership. We're going to dig into some surprising stuff, some actionable strategies too.
Yeah, whether you're looking for that expert agent or you're an agent wanting to be that expert.
Okay, so if the market's a jungle and all the guides sound the same,
Yeah.
how do you find the real one? Our deep dive suggests it's maybe not about being the most agreeable person in the room.
Mm-hmm. It's about this philosophy built on three core ideas, these three T's we're calling them: teaching, tailoring, and taking control. They really reshape that whole client-agent thing.
Okay, let's break those down. The first T, teaching for differentiation. What does that actually mean in practice? It's not just lecturing clients, right?
No, not at all. It's about educating clients with unique insights, things they haven't considered. Challengers reframe how clients look at their own decisions. It goes way beyond just, pulling up listings.
Okay, but isn't there a risk there? If you challenge someone's ideas about their own house or what they
Well,
should buy, couldn't that backfire? Put them off?
That's the immediate thought, isn't it? But it's interesting. The research and what we see in practice suggests the opposite. In this sea of information, what clients really value is clarity, perspective.
Ah, okay.
So when an agent dares to offer a different viewpoint, maybe a challenging one, but backs it up, it actually builds more trust. It positions them as an expert guide, not just a service provider agreeing with everything.
So they're offering something unique, something the client couldn't just Google.
Exactly. And the way they do that effectively is often through what's called a commercial insight.
Commercial insight. Okay, what is that?
It's basically a data-backed perspective that does three key things. First, it highlights a problem or opportunity the client probably hasn't recognized.
Okay.
Second, it connects that problem directly to the unique value the agent brings. And third, crucially, it creates a sense of urgency.
Can you give an example, like for a buyer?
Sure. So an agent might use recent sales data and trend analysis to show a buyer that, look, putting in a slightly higher offer now in this specific, rapidly appreciating neighborhood could mean, say, 20% more equity in 5 years compared to a safer area.
Ah, so it's reframing the cost of not bidding higher, potentially.
Precisely. It's an insight they likely wouldn't have arrived at on their own. It uncovers a hidden opportunity cost or maybe a hidden risk.
That definitely changes the conversation. Okay, let's move to the second tease. Tailoring for resonance. This sounds like customizing the approach.
Exactly. Challenger agents don't just have one pitch. They really dig into the client's specific needs, their goals, who else is involved in the decision. They do their homework.
So it's about making sure the message, the insight, actually lands with that specific client.
Yes. Think about a couple buying their first home. Maybe one person is really focused on the budget, like down to the dollar. The other is dreaming about a great neighborhood for kids, good schools.
Right, common scenario.
A Challenger agent wouldn't just send generic listings. They'd tailor their presentation, maybe using data on school performance and affordability trends in specific areas, showing how they can potentially achieve both goals. They address each priority directly.
Why is that tailoring piece so vital in real estate?
Eh.
Especially when, like you said, there's often more than one person making the call.
Because real estate decisions are rarely made by one person in a vacuum. You've got spouses, partners, sometimes parents helping out, each with their own priorities, maybe even conflicting ones.
Like the classic fixer-upper versus move-in ready debate.
Exactly. Tailoring isn't just about hitting individual points. It's about understanding the dynamics within that decision-making group. It helps bridge those gaps, ensures the message resonates with everyone, and builds consensus.
So how do they manage that? Is there a specific tactic for tailoring to multiple people?
Yeah, the key tactic here is often called role-based messaging. It's about first identifying all the key players, buyer, spouse, maybe the financial advisor they listen to, or in a commercial deal, the CEO versus the CFO. And then you consciously customize your insights for each role. So you might talk about appreciation and lifestyle to one person while focusing on affordability stats and, say, tax benefits with the other. For the commercial client, maybe ROI for the CEO and cash flow implications for the CFO.
Got it. Different angles for different stakeholders. Okay, on to the third T, taking control of the sale. This sounds assertive.
It is assertive, but not aggressive. It's about leading the process confidently, guiding clients toward making decisions, and importantly, being willing to respectfully push back sometimes to keep things on track.
Push back. That's where people might get nervous again, thinking it sounds pushy.
Right, but think about the client's perspective. They're often paralyzed by fear of overpaying, fear of missing out, fear of making the wrong choice, or they're just overwhelmed.
Yeah, analysis paralysis is real.
Exactly. Challengers step in not to push their own agenda, but to build the client's confidence. They provide clear direction based on expertise precisely when the client feels stuck or uncertain. They create momentum.
So how does an agent take control constructively? Can you give an example?
Sure. Let's say a seller has an unrealistic price expectation, maybe based on what a neighbor said their house was worth.
It happens all the time.
Right. Instead of just agreeing to list it high and hope for the best, the challenger agent might say something like, I understand you're hoping for $500,000. The market data, the recent comps right here, strongly suggest that pricing at $450,000 will attract serious buyers much faster, likely leading to multiple offers and ultimately a stronger final price. Let's walk through this data together.
So leading with data, explaining the why, not just saying you're wrong.
Exactly. It's leading with expertise and objective evidence. And the specific technique they often use here is called constructive tension.
Constructive tension. Okay, tell me more about that.
It's about respectively challenging assumptions or choices that might be detrimental to the client's goals. Like maybe a buyer wants to make a really low offer in a super hot seller's market.
Yeah, risky move.
Yeah. The agent uses constructive tension to highlight the risk. Based on the last 3 homes selling with multiple offers well over asking, an offer this low is unlikely to be considered and we might lose our chance. Are we prepared for that, or should we look at a more competitive strategy based on the current reality? It's also about reframing objections.
How so?
Well, if a buyer is hesitating on making a strong offer, the agent might reframe the situation. Waiting even a week in this market could mean facing more competition, potentially paying more, or losing this house to someone else. Is that a risk you're comfortable with, given how much you like this property? It introduces a necessary dose of reality. Respectfully, but clearly.
Okay, so those are the 3 pillars. Teaching, tailoring, taking control. Now, how does this actually play out in the sales process? Is there a step-by-step model?
Yes. The Challenger's Sale Framework outlines a specific 6-step process, kind of adapted for complex sales like real estate. It guides the conversation from that first meeting right through to the close.
Let's walk through it. Step 1.
It starts with the warmer. This isn't just chit-chat. It's about establishing credibility fast. You open with a surprising insight or stat related to their specific situation or the market.
Like what?
Maybe something like, interestingly, homes in your target neighborhood that were staged professionally sold, on average, 18 days faster and for 5% more in the last quarter. It immediately shows you know the market deeply and have valuable information.
Okay, catches their attention. What's next?
Step 2 is the reframe. This is where you introduce that new perspective we talked about, challenging a core assumption they might hold.
Like the seller assuming the highest initial list price is always best.
Exactly. You might show data demonstrating how homes initially overpriced often sit longer and ultimately sell for less than those priced competitively from day one. You're reframing their understanding of pricing strategy itself.
Got it. Step 3.
Rational drowning. Sounds intense, but it's about using data to quantify the cost of the problem or the cost of inaction, making it real.
How would you do that?
For that seller who wants to overprice, you might calculate their monthly carrying costs, mortgage, taxes, insurance, utilities, and show them, look, if the house sits for an extra 3 months because we priced too high, that's potentially X thousand dollars out of your pocket just in holding costs.
Ouch. Okay, makes it tangible. Then what?
Step 4 is emotional impact. You connect that rational problem to their personal goals and feelings.
Writing it personal.
Right. For that seller, you might say, and beyond the carrying costs, delaying the sale could mean missing the enrollment deadline for the kid's new school or pushing back your start date at the new job. How would that impact your family's move?
Connecting the dots to what really matters to them. Okay, step 5.
A new way. Here's where you pivot and present your approach, your specific strategy, as the better path forward, directly addressing the problem you've just reframed and quantified.
So for the seller example,
You'd say, so instead of risking that extended market time and those extra costs, my approach is to price competitively based on the data, invest in professional staging to attract the maximum number of serious buyers quickly, and use targeted marketing to create buzz right from day one. This is how we generate strong offers fast.
okay, presenting the solution and the final step.
Step 6 is your solution. This is where you detail how your specific services and expertise deliver on that new way. You connect your value proposition directly back to their reframed problem and their specific needs.
So maybe showing a case study.
Exactly. You could say, for example, I worked with clients in a similar situation last quarter. We implemented this exact strategy, pricing right, staging, targeted marketing, and we secured an offer 10% above asking within 5 days. Let me show you how we did that. It makes your solution concrete and credible.
That's a really structured approach. So why does this challenger model seem to work so well in real estate, especially, right now?
Well, first, think about that client overwhelm we mentioned. Zillow, Redfin, endless articles. People are drowning in data but starved for actual insight. Challengers cut through the noise. They simplify.
They provide clarity.
Yes. And second, differentiation. In markets flooded with agents who all seem to offer the same thing, challengers stand out. They compete on expertise, on the value of their insight, not just on being available or having a nice website.
That makes sense. These are huge decisions, buying or selling a home. People must be nervous.
Hugely. There's a lot of fear, anxiety, indecision involved. Clients often need someone to provide confident leadership, to guide them through that emotional roller coaster. Challengers naturally fill that role.
And thinking about the market, say, looking towards 2025, things are still shifting, right? Interest rates, inventory.
Absolutely. And in volatile or complex markets like we're seeing, clients desperately need agents who can offer real strategic guidance. Timing, pricing, negotiation strategy, these become even more critical. Challengers prove their worth by navigating these complexities effectively.
You mentioned loyalty earlier, too. That stat was surprising.
Yeah, it's powerful. Research consistently shows that a huge chunk, like over 50% of client loyalty, comes directly from the sales experience itself. How the agent engaged them, the insights they provided, the confidence they inspired. It's less about the final price or the specific property than you might think.
Wow. So the way you sell actually builds more loyalty than what you sell.
In many complex sales, yes. Challenger agents inherently create that high-value, insight-led experience that breeds loyalty.
Okay, so if an agent listening wants to start doing this, how do they actually implement it? What are the practical steps?
First and foremost, develop deep market expertise. Go beyond just knowing current listings. Study trends, inventory levels, absorption rates, economic factors like interest rate impacts. Use MLS data, market reports, whatever you can get your hands on, not just for clients, but to actually craft those commercial insights.
So really become a student of the market.
Constantly. Then you have to consciously master the reframe. Practice identifying those client blind spots or outdated assumptions. Aim to develop, say, 2 or 3 core commercial insights relevant to your typical clients that challenge conventional wisdom.
Like the insight about staging costs versus potential return.
Exactly. Something concrete, data-backed, and perspective shifting. Next, really focus on tailoring to stakeholders. Make it a habit. Before key meetings, map out who the decision makers are. What are their likely individual concerns or priorities?
And use that role-based messaging we talked about.
Precisely. Customize your points. Maybe use your CRM to track these different stakeholder needs. Then you need to practice constructive tension. This is key. It doesn't always come naturally.
How do you practice that? Role-playing.
Role-playing is great. Practice those tough conversations with colleagues. How do you tell a seller their price is too high? Using data. How do you advise a buyer against a poor decision? Get comfortable using phrases like, I understand where you're coming from, however the data suggests. Or, let's consider the potential downside of that approach.
Building the muscle for difficult conversations.
Right. And leverage your marketing. Your insights shouldn't just live in client meetings. Create content blog posts, short videos, market updates that showcases your expertise and your unique perspective. Share data-driven tips on social media. Let your insights attract clients.
Become a thought leader in your market.
Essentially, yes. And finally, if you're in a brokerage, advocate for training. Push for training that focuses on insight generation, on the challenger methodology, not just on basic sales skills or lead gen. Practice the 6 steps in team meetings. Get coaching on that assertive communication style.
It sounds like a real commitment to shifting how you operate. Now, you mentioned some misunderstandings earlier. Let's tackle those. What are the big misconceptions about being a challenger?
Well, the biggest one is definitely that challengers are pushy, maybe even arrogant or confrontational.
Oh, the reality.
The reality is they're confident, yes, but also deeply empathetic. The goal is to guide the client to the best outcome for them, using insight and data as the guidepost. It's assertive leadership, not aggression.
Okay. What about data overload? Is that a risk?
It absolutely can be a pitfall. Just dumping stats on a client is counterproductive.
So the solution is?
Focus. Pick 1, maybe 2, truly powerful and relevant insights. Make that the core of the conversation. It's about the impact of the insight, not the volume of data. Precision over quantity.
And does this mean you just ignore building rapport, the personal connection?
No, definitely not. That's another pitfall, thinking it's only about the challenge. Rapport is still crucial. But with the challenger approach, trust is built primarily through demonstrated expertise and valuable guidance, complemented by warmth and understanding. Competence is a form of rapport in complex situations.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
And is this really only for, like, the superstar agents, the top 1%?
Absolutely not. That's a big misconception. These are behaviors and skills. Teaching, tailoring, taking control, these can be learned and practiced by any agent who's committed to it. We see agents at all levels successfully adopting this model.
Okay, so putting it all together, what's the real-world impact? Why should agents, or even clients looking for agents, really care about this framework, especially looking ahead?
The impact can be huge. This isn't just theory. It's been proven across industries. In real estate, we see agents who adopt this. They genuinely differentiate themselves.
Can you share an example?
Sure, there's a story of an agent in a super competitive area constantly battling low-fee competitors. She shifted her approach entirely to the challenger model, started using data-driven commercial insights to show sellers how her strategic pricing and marketing plan, while perhaps costing more upfront in commission, consistently resulted in significantly higher net proceeds, like 10% higher offers, faster sales.
And what happened?
Within a year, she increased her listings by something like 30%. She stopped competing on price and started competing on demonstrable value and outcomes. It transformed her business.
Wow. And connecting that to, say, 2025 and beyond.
In a market that's likely to remain complex, shifting rates, maybe tight inventory in places, more discerning buyers, the ability to provide clear, insightful guidance is paramount. Challengers are perfectly positioned. They help buyers act decisively, help sellers price realistically, and attract savvy investors by highlighting genuine ROI. They bring clarity to confusion.
So for an agent listening, the benefits are pretty clear. Stand out, close faster, build real loyalty.
Exactly. And potentially earn more because you're proving your value, not just discounting your service. For clients listening, understanding this helps you identify the agents who can truly guide you, who offer more than just access to listings, they offer strategic partnership.
It really shifts the focus from being liked to being respected and valued for your expertise.
That's a great way to put it. At the end of the day, clients making huge financial decisions want an expert guide they can trust, maybe even more than they want a friend. The challenger provides that expertise with confidence.
So wrapping this deep dive up, the big takeaway seems to be that the best real estate professionals today aren't just facilitators. They teach, they tailor, and they take control. They guide.
Absolutely. And maybe a little challenge for everyone listening this week. Try to develop just one solid commercial insight. Think about your market, your clients. What's one data-backed perspective that could challenge an assumption, highlight an unrecognized issue, and link back to how you can help?
And then test it out. See how it feels, how clients react. Notice that shift when you move from just trying to be agreeable to actually being that trusted, insightful expert. It might feel different at first, but the results could be powerful.
Definitely. And if you want to go deeper, check out the original Challenger Sale book or look for training based on its principles. It's a mindset shift, but one that seems incredibly well suited to the demands of the modern real estate world.